Welcome to the November blog of the HO Scale Milwaukee Road beer line. And if you hear a meow in the background, that's our cat Daisy, and she is not going to back off. So she's down here beside me, so we may have a little cat noises in the video. Anyway, this month is not quite as elaborate in accomplishments as last month, but still I did get, I thought, what was a major accomplishment. You can see it behind me. And that is my Slits grain elevator. That is all done, and the Slits spent grains plant is well underway, at least halfway done. Will be done sometime next week. So when I do the December video blog, that will be fully completed, and the Pabst grain elevator, actually a Pabst grain cleaning facility as I understand, will be well underway. So without much further ado, let's take a look at the completed Slits grain elevator. Well, here it is. This is my completed Slits grain elevator. You can kind of see the whole thing. The purpose of this was to receive the oats and barley from the terminal elevator further up the line at Rock Junction on the beer line. Brought down in dedicated box cars, usually the Hiawatha ribside box cars. The grain was unloaded here and of course used in the brewing process. The structure, I did my best to make it as far as width and height relatively close to scale. The prototype up to the main roof right here was 135 feet from the ground, and right around 150 to 160 scale feet to the top of this part right here. I just don't know what it's called. So anyway, after the oats and barley were used in the brewing process, then they were put into the spent grains plant, which we're going to take a look at that here in a few moments. So I built this structure using foam core, 3/16 inch foam core that I bought at Hobby Lobby as the inner core of the structure, then sheathed it with styrene. It took me around 36 days to build this structure, working anywhere from 30 minutes to a couple of hours an evening. I don't think I did half bad. I'm relatively pleased with it, a little bit of light weathering. So let's take a look at some of this. Here on the end we have a fire escape all the way down. Boy, wouldn't you want to climb down that. Not me, I'm scared of heights. This three of the Walther's fire escape kits went together to get all the way down. This is a pretty strong characteristic of this end of the structure. Also on the structure were various vents. Here we got one up on top, not exactly like the prototype one, but they had one up in this corner. So that's what I put there. That's just from the Walther's. They have a kit that has various vents that go on the rooftops of buildings. This is exactly built from the kit, stuck on the end here. Also from another Walther's kit, the side mount dust collectors. You can see one there and then two over here. These were built exactly as the kit. This one, as per the prototype, I put this big pipe on it. The pipe is made from styrene tubing. The ribbing, you can see, I'll zoom in here, was made from leftover roofing material from a Bar's Mill kit. And I just wrapped it around that, painted it. The topper, a bigger piece of styrene tubing as the base here. And then the vents on top were actually, going back to that other Walther's roof vent kit, I took two of them, assembled them as per the instructions, and glued them back to back. And it kind of comes pretty close to what was on the real one. There's this thing going down through the roof. Don't really know too much about this. I just worked from the photographs. Over here, now I scratch built this out of some just bits and pieces out of my scrap box. This is a Cyclone dust separator. That's what I was told, at least. Again, I'm kind of helpless on some of this. I don't know much about a lot of the equipment on these. That's a Cyclone dust separator, and essentially it dispensed dust or something into vehicles to haul off. And what I understand, it was very dirty, filthy work. So I got a truck down there that would have been loaded. It had a pipe going all the way up the building, as you can see. That's I'm not sure what it's from. It's from a kit. I think it was some type of piping. I got a slight bend here. I held this over my soldering iron, my 35-watt soldering iron, and bent it. So there. There's an awning over the tracks, just like the prototype. This is 40,000 styrene. Then I raided my kid's craft drawer and stole a piece of paper and sliced it in the strips and used white glue to lay it on. Then I painted it. And then let's see, we're going to pull the cars out. And we can look underneath as all the other things. Okay, I'm going to move my little mock-up out of the way there. All right. Again, mostly from photographs. I don't know much. I just kind of put in what I saw. Some ladders, some more dust collectors. These doors here, if you can see them real well, I'm going to try and zoom in a little here. These doors here on the ground were for the box cars. Those were opened up and the grain was unloaded out of the doors and through those doors. Through those doors there on the pavement. There's 3 of them for 3 spots. Here I have grates in between the rails, and that's for unloading hoppers. In the mid-60s, grain hoppers, for those of you that know your railroad history, know that grain hoppers were just coming into vogue. And I'm not sure if the prototype had these or not. So I decided to just take matters into my own hands, because I have a couple of the tangent covered hoppers. This one right here is one of them. And they're really neat looking cars. But they were around in the mid-60s. So I figured I'd put one spot in for covered hoppers. And on the time when you had a covered hopper, you had to make sure to spot it in this location. But I could also spot a box car here as well from the evidence of the door. So I'm not sure totally how prototypical that is, but I think it's very plausible. And it's my trains anyway, so. Looking down underneath, some more stuff I just saw from photographs and what I've seen other guys put in their models. Dan Hayden on the Yahoo Beerline group in particular. So just a cabinet, a set of cabinets from an old kit. The valve wheel is an old brake wheel from a freight car kit. The pipe is more of that same piping that I used on the Cyclone dust separator, and again just held it over my soldering iron to bend it. I made one there and one there. And then this little entryway here on the edge of the building, that's mostly from leftover parts from the fire escape kit. Again, just working from photographs. The doors from an old freight car, I think caboose kit that I built years ago. Also, these grates here are, again, more leftover parts from the Walters fire escape. The fire escape kit allowed you to build 2 different ways. You could build the zigzag, like I made, or you could build it to where it just kind of ran more horizontally, just stepping down. And these platforms were if you're going to do that. So as you can tell, I found a lot more uses from the fire escape kit. There's not many parts left. The ladders in here underneath are from that as well. The brackets on this pipe here holding it up. There we go. Try to aim and point. Those are also from the fire escape kit. So that's a pretty handy little kit. Underneath here, I'm going to try and do this. You can see there's brackets underneath. Those were all, I made those too as well. So there you go. This is kind of my first, while my overpass in my yard was my first scratch building project, this is my first major one. And I'm really happy with how it came out. I think it kind of captures the overall look halfway decently. I think it's very recognizable. So there you go. Now, set this back. My ugly cardboard mock-up of my bottling plant. Now, the spent grains plant. This is where all after the oat and barley were used in the brewing process, it was stored in here, then eventually shipped out and used as cheap filler in animal feed. As you can tell, I made the silos. There's 9 of them from PVC piping. This is pretty heavy too, by the way. The pipes, or the silos, actually run about 16 3/4 inches tall. And then the head house up on top brings it to relatively close to 135 scale feet. And then the hoist house again brings us up to about 155 scale feet. So this is actually, other than putting the little vents on the top of the silos as such, like we see here, these same things. After those go on, which will be this evening, it'll be ready for paint and primer. So just like in the prototype, it stands on this side of the Slits grain elevator. Across the street will be the bottling plant, which is that ugly mock-up right there. Boy, isn't that motivation to get the actual kit built, or the actual structure built. It'll be a kit bash. But after this is done, here the spent grains plant, then I will come in and do the Pabst grain elevator. Again, more motivation because that's an ugly cardboard mock-up. At least we get an idea, and I'll step back here, you can see. It's kind of, you start getting that canyon feel that you would get in a big urban industrial area. So that'd be pretty neat. You'll have to kind of peek around to see the trains at times as they snake and wind their way through. But that was the effect I was going for all along. So anyway, so there you go. So there you have it. That's this month's blog on the beer line. When I see you guys next month, the spent grains plant should be done. I hope it'd be done. And the Pabst elevator ought to be well underway. That will be a pretty challenging build. The lines, the architecture of the elevator itself are not really as straightforward as the Slits elevator. A lot of different lines, different, almost like substructures. The silos, they were made out of tile, but I don't think I'm quite that talented to quite get that effect. So they'll be poured concrete, basically. And a lot of exterior details in that structure. Lots of dust collectors, vents, piping, guy wires to help hold the canopy over the tracks. So it'll be a very detailed-oriented project. So I'll be anxious to share that with you. So until now, as always, the beer is flowing on the beer line. It's always the summer in the mid-60s, nice and warm. A whole lot better than the cold winter weather we got right now. So anyway, take care. We'll see you next month. Thank you for watching.